Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are here for a midweek special. Thursday still counts as midweek. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by Dean Jones, Football Insider. Dean, how are you, mate?
Yes, good mate, good mate. Got to get into this now. What day is it? We're 3 days, something like that.
Yeah.
Very excited, very excited. Not nervous either. Quite calm about England's situation. I've been watching all they do that England TV thing where they've like the Lion's Den or whatever. I've been watching all the lads like arriving around the camp and everyone messing around. I like those actually. I think they do a good job. The England do actually on showing you what's going on around the team. So that's good. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Let's go through like the main teams that we all need to know about for our fantasy purposes as much as anything else.
Yeah, loving this. This show is being brought to you guys by the idea of us going, look, there are 9 very well fancied teams here. So we've picked the 9 favourites. We're going to give you a 10-minute insight into all of those 9 teams. So importantly, we're going to look at the fixtures, but even more importantly, we're going to be looking at the fantasy prices of what we think will be the suggested 11, or if not the suggested 11, the key 11 men in the squad, we think at least. So without further ado, I think we'll say hello to a couple of you in the chat. Haley, Mohammed, FPL Focus is there, Paul, Leo, good to see so many of you. Hopefully there'll be a few more that realised it was streaming on a Thursday. And we will be back tomorrow with our team reveals, I should add. But let's kick us off. I think we'll go alphabetical. So we're going to kick off with Argentina.
Nice.
Here we go. So
why not? Everyone's favourites, mate. Everyone's backing them.
Yeah, I think so. And look, there'll be loads in the chat, and we expect this throughout the show, and that's absolutely cool. Put your suggestions in who say Tagliafico is not going to play left back. It's going to be X. That's cool. We're not worried too much about the 11s on this stream. We'll pop in the bottom strap who played in the recent friendly yesterday. So Argentina won. Di Maria got a couple of goal involvements. The likes of McAllister started. The likes of Alvarez instead of Lautaro started. However, we don't quite know how they're going to line up. And with a lot of teams, we're not going to have an insight because most teams won't have a friendly. I think about half of them do. So Argentina had one. But again, you don't know where they stand with that team because it could be that there's players that they perhaps called up to the squad late or travelled late or perhaps just, slightly tired, need a little bit more downtime.
Yeah, from the friendlies I've seen, the lineups from, they don't really correlate with what we're expecting to see at the tournament. I saw Croatia was a bit all over the place in terms of their starting lineup. I love Jason's comment, by the way. It says, "Is it weird I'm watching all your content, but I'm not actually playing the game myself?" A little bit, maybe, Jason, but I don't think so on the flip of it too, because this is like basically a World Cup preview we're doing here tonight. So It doesn't matter really if you're playing the game. We're just going through all the teams, and we all love to know all the players and how they're going to line up. So stick with us. It's going to be fun. Yeah. But yeah, so like Alvarez instead of Martinez, like that's not how they'll line up for the first game. Yeah. I think it's interesting. And if anything, it makes me think with Alvarez, this is the things to consider, right? Argentina, especially first game Saudi, they could give him a pasting, right? That could be 5-0. And Alvarez will come on late when Saudi are tired. Yeah. So you could put Alvarez in your team. Don't worry that he's not 6.5, and don't worry too much because he's going to get minutes. He's going to get game time, but don't expect him to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah. And when you look at these 11, like we think Argentina will probably keep some clean sheets. They've had a good defensive record. When you look at their fixtures, it's a good group for them. So they've got Saudi Arabia up first. Then it's Mexico. Okay. Poland. Mexico and Poland, you could see clean sheets. You could see them conceding too. But we expect a clean sheet in match day 1. We expect goals in match day 1. So for those that are looking to go fairly big from the start, I think double Argentina is on the cards. And my current draft, and we'll show our drafts in tomorrow's stream, but I've got double Argentina. At the moment, I've got double attack, but I might cover... No, sorry, I've got Martinez as well, who's on my bench, but will come on. So I've gone with Martinez, Di Maria, and Lautaro. But I think Messi could go in there. I just don't know if it's worth saving 2.5 million. We've got this dilemma with Neymar and Richarlison. There's a bigger gap between those two. But with Messi and Lautaro, it's 2.5 million. Dean, if you can only pick one of those, is Messi an obvious pick? He's 58% owned.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's saying that they're expecting Messi to set Martinez up, though. They're not expecting Messi to get the goals. They're expecting him to create the goals most of the time. Obviously, Messi's going to score at the World Cup. But Lautaro is expected to be the lead scorer for this team. It might not work out that way, of course, but that is the inclination we have right now. Nuclear makes an interesting point about Lisandro Martinez perhaps starting the first game instead of Romero because of injury. That's one to look out for. But what a player to step in at the moment. Lisandro having a great season and stepping into this team as a backup defender. I mean, that just shows the strength and depth of this team. I think Di Maria is worth keeping an eye on. I put an Argentina player on my team today. I'm pretty sure it was Di Maria in the end that I went with. Just thinking like, because it's Saudi, he will play, he'll be on set pieces, he'll get goals, maybe assists, almost definitely, especially that combination with him and Lautaro could pay off. And then that covers the fact I haven't got Messi. But yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Di Maria, after seeing him score and assist yesterday, and we know he'll be in a front three, he's missed quite a bit of football this season with injuries, but he looks sharp and he steps up. So yeah, there we go. What do you guys reckon in the chat? Let us know who you're going with from Argentina. But Dean, if you were to name one player, we should just touch on De Paul. There aren't many 5 million mids that offer what he offers. He'll start. He got an assist yesterday in the friendly. De Paul's a really useful player. When he left Udinese, every Italian team wanted him. He ended up going Atletico. He's had an okay time there, but he's an elite footballer. Won't get many goals. He's fairly deep. But did get the assist yesterday, and we'll get those tackle points too.
Yeah, look, Messi's the one to have though, because he's going to play every minute, and he's the best player potentially at the tournament. So like that's haven't got him. We're both saying we don't know whether we're going to get him, but like he is the star. That's why 58% of people have got him, because Messi is one of the best players you can have in your team, and he'll barely miss a minute, and he's going to make the most of his opportunities. In good form this season too. He's having a fight back season after what happened last year. So I still think that Messi is the pick. If you want to back up, I do think Di Maria is a really interesting one. I do. I think Di Maria might be my second one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with those two. I think I'm going to not risk Lautaro for minutes risk and go Messi, Di Maria. And I think one sets up the other quite often. They're good mates, those two. And just for that Saudi fixture, I might not stick with it, but you know, we get 2 transfers each game week, each match day. I'm happy to go big on that attack for match day 1.
Nice.
All right, cool. Let's move on then. That was Argentina. That was really fun.
Lovely.
Good stuff. We'll move on. We've got 9 teams to get through, guys. We'll still answer some questions when we can. It's going to move to Belgium. This one's a really tricky 11 because there's so much debate about who could play wing back, because we've put Carrasco and Castagna here, but Meunier's got a really good chance and it's a 50-50 call. Thorgan Hazard also plays as a wing back, and I just wonder if Leandro Trossard can have a go at wing back where he's played for Brighton at times. So I really don't know about this Belgium 11. I think we're probably certain over 5-6 of these, but even, you know, Lukaku's not going to start match day 1. I think Batshuayi is more likely. Hazard's still a big doubt, but he's the captain. What do you think to Belgium? And do you rate their chances in the group? Because it's a good group, Dean. So I think we probably, a few of us are probably sleeping on Belgium assets because we're not backing them for the tournament. But when you look at the group, Canada, they've got Croatia in there, and then is it Morocco? Maybe
Morocco, yeah, but Morocco might be underrated, to be honest with you. I think Morocco have got quite a decent team, so I'm really not sure what we're going to get from this Belgium team. On our podcast today, on Ranks, we had a discussion about, we did hot takes basically today, and there was a lot of stuff that comes out of it. I'll bring a few of them up as we go along here. But one of the hot takes on our show today was that De Bruyne will be the only player that scores for Belgium at this World Cup. They haven't really got a goal source, because Lukaku's had such a troubled season. Eden Hazard's had such a troubled season. And obviously they've got guys that can come off the bench. But De Bruyne, when the going gets tough, he does step up and he just takes matters into his own hands. He'll probably take pens and free kicks. De Bruyne is the guy you want, basically. If you're picking someone from this team, you need De Bruyne because he's everything to them. And the other guys, we really don't know as the tournament gets underway. I think that, Canada, their first game, we don't know exactly what we're going to be getting from that first one. We almost need to just sit down and take that game in and analyse it and see how they're playing, who's actually playing, and who's actually in form. Like you say, the wing-backs are going to be such an important position in this team. And if Trossard gets the nod, it's fantastic for all of us because we know what he's capable of.
It's like 5.5 or 6 million as well. Super cheap in this game.
Super cheap. And Meunier too, we'll want him. So, it might just be a wait and see on Belgium. But obviously, De Bruyne is the go-to.
Yeah, this is a really quick section for me. De Bruyne is the only fantasy option. I think you could look at one of those wing backs, Meunier, for example, and Castagna, possibly tempting, but the X minutes there's a big risk, and I think we'll see a lot of substitutions there at wing back too. A lot of 60-minute appearances, and of course you need him to hit that 60 mark to get the clean sheet. The only other option I like that's not pictured here is the Trossard shout, because I do think Trossard could be one that gets half an hour and still gets points, like we said with Alvarez, but could even earn himself a start. But De Bruyne currently in my team. I'm with you, Dean. I think he will get a ton of goal involvements because he is the main man.
And don't forget what was that? Shots on target counts for a lot too, and he'll have load of shots. So that's to bear in mind too.
Key passes too. He'll get a few of them. So
he's made for this. He's made for this.
I feel like he is. It's not Man City, says Graham. Yeah, maybe not, but Man City opponents most weeks are better. I don't want to disrespect nations, and look, I think Canada just beaten Japan tonight, but I think Man City's opponents are often going to be a better standard than Canada. So. Swings around
Canada really like. If Canada come third, they'll be happy with that. Like it's been a long time in the wilderness for them, and Belgium really do have to be seeing off teams like that.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. Our league code is at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you're joining our mini league. I'm super excited to have me and Dean in the same league, going head to head with you all. It's going to be really interesting, this, because I think how you play your chips will mean a lot, but also, unlike FPL, there isn't just one or two premiums that we all have to have. Salah, Haaland. This game's got about 10 amazing premiums, like a Kevin De Bruyne, and you can't have them all. So it's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I see Jason just mentioned, I'm just checking it, that Mane has been confirmed as out of the tournament. It looks like that is true, actually. Looks like that is spreading around at the moment, that he will not be able to play for Senegal at the tournament. That's a big blow for them. I mean, if you want to have a Senegal asset, then maybe look at Bouli Dia. That's the guy that I would be looking at now as stepping up for them. He's going to have a bit more pressure on him, but he's a really good player. So if you want a replacement for Mane, be looking at Bouli Dia.
Oh, nice. I'm just going to check his price. I'm guessing everyone will be a lot. Yeah, but yeah, okay. 5 million, mate.
Really, yeah, mate, he's really good as well. Really good, and he's kind of ready for. He's been preparing for this for a long time, waiting for his moment. He's been cautious about it. He's been working hard, and spoken to someone that works quite closely to him on an agency, and they say they hope that he seems ready to take his chance here, and he knows he's got a lot of responsibility. Yeah.
Oh, you heard it here first, guys, because he is ranked right at the bottom of all the forwards, and they've got a few prices wrong in this game. There's a starting left back for Croatia who's 3.5 million, and maybe Bouli Dia is another one that. Yeah, so you think Bouli Dia is good value for a start with Mane out, then, Dean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now Mane's definitely out. Yeah, I was already thinking for the first game him, but now if he's got 3 games, then he's definitely going to have opportunities.
Oh, I mean, Netherlands in match day 1 is difficult, and I know we're moving.
That's a tough one, yeah.
But then Qatar and Ecuador, it's a good group they could really get out of.
Yeah,
interesting. Nice. Okay, so remember, guys, Bouli Dia, you heard it here first. I might have to tweet that, Dean, if you don't, because I think that'll get some love when he starts on match day 1.
Yep.
There we go. Belgium, as mentioned, De Bruyne, Trossard, Meunier, a few of the fullbacks worth looking at. But outside of that, very little. Let's move on from Belgium. And it does get a little bit more exciting, guys, because we've still got to preview tonight the likes of Spain, the likes of England, the likes of Portugal. I'm just looking on my back wall, Germany. But let's go to Brazil, because this is one of the sexier teams, if you like. Again, we don't know who's going to start at fullback, but this is the 11 that started, I think, the last couple of friendlies, or the last friendly. And I love Paqueta and Neymar almost playing as sort of an 8 and a 10 with one holding mid and then a front 3. It's a team that looks like it's going to win a World Cup, isn't it?
That is outrageous. Look at it. That is just unbelievable. That is how they're going to go there and play. Yeah, I mean, it's Richarlison. I don't know enough about. Brazil's one of the sides I haven't had to look into too much, because someone else was taking care of it for our lot. What is Richarlison likely to be the 9? Very likely, or
in qualifying, he was picked so much, and Gabby Jesus, sure, he gets in the squad, and we've seen different players playing that 9 role sometimes as a false, but Richarlison is a real favourite of that coaching team. So I'm pretty confident he starts as the 9, which is weird, because he was getting in that slot even as an Everton player. He's clearly a favourite.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So their first game is against Serbia, and Serbia are really hopeful of having a good tournament, right? And they're a really entertaining team, but that might be to their detriment in this first game. Like Serbia, the way that this pans out isn't very good because Mitrovic will be missing for the first match for them through injury, and the way that they play means that they do leave themselves exposed a bit, and there is possibilities that they have gaps at the back because they like to push on when they can. And I don't know how they're going to deal with this, to be honest. I mean, they'll definitely give it a good crack, but this isn't really going to suit them from what I can tell. So I think Brazil are looking good value. I think Brazil are one of the teams that might even end up with 9 points from their group. So that's worth looking out for. In terms of assets to own, I mean, is it too obvious to say Neymar? I mean, is he on pens and free kicks and all the rest of it?
I'm surprised at the ownership. When we've brought up these teams and we've looked at the most owned player, we've seen
Yeah, it's
Messi
like
at 60%, De Bruyne at 50. Well, Neymar's at
yeah,
32. And I wonder if it's because he's listed, I think, as a forward in this game, and we know he's not going to play as a striker per
yeah,
se. So maybe that's a little bit of a turn off. He's kind of out of position, but the other way around, listed he'll be playing more as an 8-10. But I think he'll
yeah.
get a ton of assists still, and I think this could be his tournament.
Yeah, and I mean it's Neymar, right? Like he'll win pens, he'll get all sorts of stuff going on. So I still 10.5, so still Messi money. But of the others, I mean, I love Vinicius, but again, 10.5 is a lot. I do like him so much, though. He's one of my favorite players in the game.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't actually got a Brazil player in my squad. I've just remembered. Like, I was trying to think, who have I got for this? I haven't got any of them.
The
I haven't
fixture
picked a
is not
Brazil
the
player.
easiest of groups, is it? Like, sure, everyone thinks they'll top their group, and they probably
Yeah, I
will, but
do, but I just don't
Serbia's
know.
hard, Switzerland's hard, Cameroon's the easiest fixture, and that's the third game. So you still have
Yeah,
you could have Neymar or a Vinny Jr. in for that third game.
I think I'm kind of just going to wait and see. If I was to pick anyone from Brazil, I'd probably pick a defender. If I just wanted to make sure I knew I had someone that was playing from the
Hmm.
start, because I think I want to see that this rotation system of the forwards in place, but and then being able to make a good judgment on it going into the knockouts and be like, right, okay, this is the players that they're properly relying on now. They're finding their rhythm. They know their best 11. So I think I'm going to stick with that strategy.
Yeah. The fullbacks is an
Yeah,
interesting one because Danilo, it could be a Danilo at right back. It could be Militao at right back. Bremer's, of course, in the squad as an amazing centre back, but Marquinhos and Thiago Silva, guys, is absolutely nailed at centre back, unless there's an injury. And remember, these guys used to play with each other at PSG. Tellez is an interesting one because he's United's third choice left back. Shaw and the Dutch kid are both in front of him. And then Alex Sandro has been a very good left back for a very long time and is still at a good age.
yeah,
Seems to be below him in the pecking order. So again, like
yeah.
it's too risky picking the fullbacks for Brazil. You just don't know. But yeah, for me, it's Vinny Jr., Richarlison, Neymar. I do think there could be value in Paqueta. He's a really good price points. Like I don't expect a ton of goals or assists, sure, but at 7 million as a route towards that Brazil attack, he could be a good pick because again, he's really fancied and should be starting these games. But Marquinhos, 1 million less than Thiago Silva. If you do want to go for a centre back, look, goal threat for Thiago Silva might be slightly better, but you just go Marquinhos and save the million.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. One of the things that puts me off too, picking Brazil play, they don't play their first game until the Thursday, and it's like the end of the round, and I'm like, I want to see my players like early. I just want to like get this
Eager.
going. So like when I saw that too, I was like, oh, Thursday, the tournament starts Sunday. I can't wait 5 days to see the lads.
Yeah,
So
I've got
another
Richarlison on
reason.
my bench at the moment, which is weird, but obviously I know I can substitute
You
him
can
in.
sub him
So
in. That is true. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a good point.
but
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. You want to see him early. You do want to see him. I'll be getting twitchy as well. Okay, guys, that was your Brazil preview. Thank you guys for all of the comments in the chat. We are reading them. We're bringing some up on screen. We haven't got a huge amount of time in this episode to get through 9 team previews and answer too many questions, but we are watching. Make sure you're hitting that like button as well, guys. Only 15 of you have hit the like button so far, so please do give us some love. This is where it gets interesting, guys. It's now time to preview the England team, and we've gone for the wing backs. We've gone for the 11 we think will start, but again, it's up for discussion. Let us know your England 11. What do you think to this, Dean? Firstly, do you think we'll see a back 5 against Iran? I mean, we might against Wales and USA, but do you think we will against Iran? And would these be the 11 you go for?
Probably, yeah, because that's what Southgate does. That's the way he plays. Iran, they've got some decent players. especially in attack. Like that's their strength. So I think he'll probably want him to get the shape going. The big concern is Kyle Walker not playing. So Walker in that position. This is the big problem with Reece James missing the tournament is that he likes, I think I mentioned it in the last episode, like that position, the reason that third player is there, particularly on the right, is to be the recovery man. And the pace is everything. So that's what that player has to have. And England don't really have it. It might be Benjamin White. I don't know. Who's the fastest? Who else could it be? I'm trying to figure out, like, White might be the most
Well, it's
likely.
not Eric Dyer and it's not Connor Cody. So it's not the other two centre-backs that we could be looking at.
No.
Ben White's versatile and can play in a variety of positions. For Brighton, he often had to play as a centre-back in a 3.
Yeah. So if he goes with the back 5, which, as I say, being Southgate, I think he will, then,
It could be Dyer in the middle and Stones right centre-back. That's the only other
it could
option,
be, actually.
I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could
But Dyer has to be in the middle.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. He might well do that because he quite likes Eric Dyer, so that's probably a good shout. But Harry Maguire is going to have a redemption tournament. He's going to be England's hero. That is the other hot take we need to be aware of at this tournament. Poor old Harry Maguire has been out for a rough old time the last year or so, and I really hope for his sake that things turn around here, because it can't be nice to be that guy sometime and be a figure of fun. And it's funny because the USA on their accounts after they were drawn to play against England, some of their accounts on social media were like, "Well, we just target Harry Maguire, get so and so up, get whoever it is, Pulisic or Gio Reyna up against Harry Maguire, and rinse him, and he's rubbish and all this." And I was like, "Do you know what? Harry Maguire is better than any centre back USA have ever produced."
That's
and
fair.
I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Like he's such a good, to get to the level that he's got to, he's had to be so good.
For a club to pay 80 million for him.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, he probably wasn't an 80 million pound defender. But I'm like rooting for Harry Maguire in this tournament. I really am. I know that's a big shout because like there's no form there to back this up, and confidence is absolutely on the floor. But I'm hoping that Southgate can like be his pal and pull him through this and help him, because otherwise it could be quite scary. And like Mark says in the comments, his lack of pace will be exposed. That might be the case, but hopefully those recovery runners will be there for him. But the rest of the team, look, what can you say? Like, we should have a shout winning the World Cup because we've got talent in every single position. Most of it is backed up to
as well.
You've got depth. You've got the layers there, and so we're starting to believe too. You've got to remember, England they've been in a poor run. I think it's 6 competitive games without a win. Relegated in the Nations League. Forget it. Southgate said the other day that he had a conversation with the FA a while back, and he was like, "Can I just set the record straight, like what the expectations are for the Nations League? Because I think," he didn't say this in these exact words, but like, "The Nations League doesn't matter, and I want to put everything into the World Cup. Is that okay?" And they were like, "Yeah." He was like, "Fine." So forget the Nations League. England are a good tournament team. They've proved it over the last 2 tournaments. And I think that mentality, that switch will go once we get there. I'm not saying it'll always be pretty. I'm not expecting us to go out beating teams particularly heavily. But I think when you look at that 11, not too bad. It's not quite a Brazil or an Argentina, but it's not too far off.
Yeah. Interesting to see how Rice and Bellingham get on together. They haven't played a huge amount of football together, especially in a 2. If it does become a back 4 at any point, you can then have a Mason Mount in the 11, who is a favourite of Gareth's. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Mount, Foden or Saka in that third attacking spot with Kane and Sterling. Kane and Sterling feel nailed. And we saw this in the Euros. Mount started most of the games when he didn't have COVID. I think it was in the final against Italy. I think he went with Saka and Mount, I think. Or maybe it was just one, and Saka came off the bench. I can't remember. But Saka was above Foden in the pecking order in the Euros, and Mount was above the pecking order in both of them. If you were if you're ranking those 3 players, it was Mount 1, Saka 2, Foden 3. It does feel like Mount might now be 3, and Foden and Saka are battling it out for that number 1 spot. But unfortunately, the way England play, there are only 3 attacking spots in this entire 11. And this isn't looking like a Premier League team in this formation, for example, when you might say it's a front five, back five system, the way Chelsea played under Tuchel or Spurs under Conte, when you include the wing backs as attackers or perhaps one of the midfielders. Well, this isn't. The wing backs won't cross the halfway line a huge amount. It will be a back five, not a back three. But Trippier as a pick, I think there's a really good option here to have double England defence, because I do think 2 clean sheets, even 3, are very, very possible. 24.1% owned, and at 5 million, Trippier will be on all the set pieces, including direct free kicks. I'm really surprised he's only 24.1% owned. I think from any FPL fan, he's in their team. From those that perhaps don't play FPL and don't know how good Trippier is at set pieces and at free kicks, perhaps he's got much lower ownership. But I'm going Trippier and Shaw because I think both will start every game, and I think England keep loads of clean sheets. But the value for me in this England team is in defence.
Yeah, and you're probably right. I was thinking myself, like, obviously I've got Trippier, and I was like, who else would I actually want? Who do I trust? I think if you were to go for, obviously Kane's got a shout of winning the Golden Boot, so you can go on Kane, obviously. Sterling at 1.2% owned, I think is worth talking about a little bit, because this isn't the Raheem Sterling of Chelsea where he doesn't have a role in the team. This is in this England team. He has a very defined role. He's trusted. He'll start. And he's got a reasonable record, right, of coming up with goals and assists for England in big moments. So also can win pens and stuff like that. So probably a bit too punchy at 8.5, but I'm surprised it's quite as low as 1.2. Like, more people have got Declan Rice than have got Raheem Sterling, and that seems a little strange to me. John says he thinks it's good value. And that's the one that really stands out to me. If I was to go for something, because he's going to... he'll have as much input as Foden. Foden's 17% owned. I honestly think this is FPL wearing over into this game, because if you've got to, it's different. It's different rules. It's also totally different teams and setups.
Sterling will play 90 most games. Foden will never get more than 70.
Yeah.
And if he even starts.
Yeah, exactly. So just bear that in mind. I'm not saying everyone go and pick Raheem Sterling now, but
I must admit, he was in my first draft, Sterling, because I couldn't believe the value. I couldn't believe he was 8.5 as an absolutely nailed England attacker. He is listed as a forward, I think, which is slightly annoying. If he was listed as a midfielder, I think he would be in more drafts. I think Foden is listed as a midfielder. I'm just checking now. Yeah, Foden's a midfielder, and annoyingly, Sterling is the forward, and effectively playing the same position. But I don't mind the Sterling pick at all. I think he'll win a penalty as well. He always does.
Yeah, exactly. Loves it.
Yeah, he does. Good stuff. Then we'll move on, guys. That was your England preview. We're tipping Sterling to maybe be good value. We think Kane is still a safe bet, and I do think Nuclear Atoms has mentioned this, and I must admit I've considered it myself as that 12th man chip, the booster, could very easily be Harry Kane for the first match day. But then I question, if I'm going to give Harry Kane a booster, yes, against Iran is a nice fixture, but then I think so's Wales and so's USA. Do I just need to get Harry Kane in my 11? Maybe I do. But at the moment, I've got Shaw and Trippier only.
Yeah, good point. That is a good point.
Yeah, it's a very good group. There's not one difficult game. But we'll move on to France. Talk us through this thing, because it's just talent all over. I know there's no Kante and Pogba, but Tuashemi and Camavinga still a very good young central midfield partnership.
Yeah, obviously lack of experience in there, which is why I don't know if Rabiot might start in one of the spots just to pad things out. I know there was talk coming into it about whether Camavinga wasn't going to be in the squad. I think it was Camavinga who it looked like might be left out. But anyway, they both got the nod. They're both brilliant, but they are both early 20s, and that is probably the flaw in this team right now, not having Kante and Pogba. But the rest of the team around them, it's just so good. It's just got everything. It's hard to win, tournaments back to back, but they've got a lot going for them, man. They really have, and as well as this, they've got like Olivier Giroud to come off the bench. They've got, when you talk about depth, they've got so much depth defensively and attacking wise. It might help make up for that midfield problem that they've got to somehow deal with. So look, France, rightly one of the favourites. Their first match is Australia. Australia are one of the worst teams coming to the World Cup. They're just not good. There's just very little to say about them. And as if that isn't bad enough for Australia fans, the World Cup is appalling timing for them. If you're in Australia, I think the games kick off at something like midnight, 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. or something. It's like, it's ludicrous. It's like there's nothing going for Australia at this World Cup, and it might not be worth staying up for this first one, because I think France might give them a pasting.
And then it's Denmark, which is the most difficult of the group games, and then Tunisia. So again, you think of two of those games with potential high ceiling for the likes of Mbappe. Mbappe is the guy with 38% ownership here. Benzema at 13, probably because he hasn't been scoring huge amount because of his injury at Real Madrid. But I was surprised to see Benzema has a third of the ownership of Mbappe, but I guess that's down to recent goals in the Champions League and so on for Mbappe and Benzema not playing. The value here for me is the wildcard pick, and I've just put him in my team. Oh, Leo is good, has literally just said it on screen. I've just transferred out Luke Shaw in the last minute. At the same price point, I can have Theo Hernandez. And he was in my first draft. I put in Lucas because it was a mistake, because Theo wasn't in the game.
He was in the game, wasn't he? Yeah.
And I assumed they'd both be 5.5. And then I thought I can have Luke Shaw and save $500,000. Well, Theo Hernandez is the much more attacking, flary, better player of the two.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And he's cheaper. Again, this is where the FIFA game is. There's a few errors in their pricing for sure. Now, maybe they don't think he's going to start, because historically, Theo doesn't always get in the squad. Lucas is a starter. Theo's not even a squad man. But in recent months, when France have played, they've gone to a back five, and they've been playing both Hernandez brothers down that left-hand side, with Theo, of course, as the wing back, and he gets forward. I'm calling this, in my personal opinion, and it will be unpopular, Theo Hernandez is the most exciting wing back in world football. I love him that much. So I've got to put him on my team.
Yeah, he's amazing. He is a very exciting player, and he's somebody that people will be clamoring to get into their team as we go on. I mean, is that because you got your Serie A hat on? Is that another one of these where you're just supporting Serie A at the World Cup?
Definitely got my Serie A hat on. He's got a fierce shot. He can dribble with the ball. He can cross. He can assist. He's got a powerful shot from distance as well. I'm just his biggest fan. And Lucas Hernandez, don't even rate that much. I don't even know if he's nailed for Bayern.
No.
I'm very pro Theo here.
Yeah, that sounds good. He is a very good player, and he goes on some worldy runs too. So he's an exciting one. Pavard on the other side is somebody worth considering too. He's obviously got good pedigree, and we know what we're getting from somebody like Pavard. So I can see why at 14%, that's pretty high ownership, really. More people have got him than Benzema anyway. No love for Griezmann at all.
Yeah.
No love. Is Griezmann on pens for France? He is quite often.
Yeah. And he's listed as a forward. I wonder if he was a midfielder, if he'd have higher ownership. But yeah, him, Benzema, Mbappe, Giroud, Dembele, all listed as forward.
I'm interested to know who takes pens in this team.
I would have said, I don't know. I'd have said, they all do, don't they? Griezmann and
they all take them. That's the problem. They all take them.
I guess Messi takes them for PSG, does he? I don't know.
But I've seen all of them take pens for France.
I think Theo Hernandez takes a good pen as well.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you know who's France penalty taker is going to be. Then let us know, because
I'm sure it was Griezmann at the last one.
I think it's Griezmann, and if it's Griezmann, then he said it's Griezmann. Benzema, Mohamed's confusing me now. Need to find out before this starts, because if Griezmann is on pens for France,
the last World Cup he was.
Yeah, he was, and then I'm getting him maybe, because that is significant in this group, because they're playing against teams that can't defend very well, and that means they're going to be clumsy and they're going to pull down Mbappe, and it means that against the likes of Australia and Tunisia, you'll get pens, and Griezmann's guaranteed a couple of goals. Pavard and pens.
Thanks, Graham. Making us smile. It's interesting because when they won the World Cup, I'm pretty sure Griezmann scored bags of goals, including penalties. But that was very much Griezmann's France team, wasn't it? 4 years ago, maybe if you even go back 5-6 years, it felt like Griezmann's team. This is very much Mbappe's team now. So I'd be interested to know, even if he wasn't on pens, if going into the World Cup, things may have changed. I think a few comments in the chat from the Hal. Yeah, he probably wants it. Colm similar. If he really wants it, he probably gets it, because it does feel like his team. I'm going Mbappe, and I'm now going Theo Hernandez. Now I've seen his price of 5.0.
Yeah, nice. I think that's smart.
Yeah. If you could pick one player, who would it be, Dean? I mean, I've just given two, but anyone else outside of those two?
Well, Griezmann now.
Yeah,
On it. I'm doing
check it
it.
out.
Yeah,
And it's a
if
cheap
he
route to
actually is.
attack.
Yeah. Oh, someone just said Benzema took pens in the Euros. I need to figure this out. But if Griezmann's in there, I might just stick him in as my third forward because I've got a spot up for grabs.
Tell you what, they were rubbish at pens because didn't Switzerland knock them out in the Euros on
They
pens?
did. Yeah, that's true.
Potential dark horses, Switzerland. We'll move on to our next team. We're not going to be previewing Switzerland, but we are previewing the 9 favourites in this stream. Stay with us, guys. We've still got some big teams to come up. We've got Portugal still to preview. We've got Spain still to preview. But we're going to move on to Germany. And this is very much a team in transition. We don't know much about this German team because it doesn't look like a German team we're used to. They've got so many flair players in Sane, Musiala, Gnabry, Havertz. We think will be the false 9. Werner's injured. Kimmich and Gundogan solid in the middle. The back line, Sula and Rudiger on their day have got a howler in them, but 2 units at the back, really fast defenders too. I don't know much about the fullbacks, and I don't know if we expect much there. But what do you think with Germany? Like they're always seen as a team that you never write off. That old say in the tournament team, Germany.
Well, you could write them off at the Euros because they were actually rubbish, and England were very lucky that we got to play against them in that moment because they were on their knees after they've had 2 bad tournaments. But this is the comeback year for Germany. This is a different team. They got a different coach now, and they are pretty good. I mean, in terms of weaknesses, they're pretty vulnerable and defensively because the midfield isn't really there. Like, Joshua Kimmich is honestly one of my favourite technicians of a football in the world, but people are very worried about the pivot there with Gundogan and Kimmich because Kimmich's supposed to be the defensive one, and people don't really trust him in Germany to do that job of protecting the defenders. So that is one of the things that they are concerned about coming into the tournament. Obviously, like the wing back positions or the fullbacks, whichever you want to call it, David Raum is somebody they'll look to get down that flank and try to get crosses in. Now, in attack is where they have the problem because the team was supposed to be built around Timo Werner, really. Hansi Flick trusts Werner. He saw him in a different light to how we would have seen him in the Premier League and you would have seen him as a Chelsea fan. But Werner's injured, so he's not going to the World Cup, and that actually exposes a problem because this team does not have an obvious goal threat. It could be Havertz. It could be that they turn to Thomas Muller, who has bags and bags of experience. He's only 33. He's probably not as old as a lot of people would think he is. He's on course, I think, to set a German goal record if he plays.
He's never younger than us, is he?
He is, mate. He is. Yeah, I met him. We met him 2 years ago. Went to Bayern Munich and interviewed him. He's one of the funniest footballers I've ever met. He's such a top bloke, such a nice guy. But yeah, Thomas Muller, not many people talking about, but honestly might have quite a big role to play. They've obviously got Makoko as well, the Dortmund 17-year-old who they've given a call up. Look out for him. But I think they've just had a friendly, and I think Füllkrug started and scored. You might have to check that. But Füllkrug, he plays for Werder Bremen.
7.5 million.
Yeah, he plays for Werder Bremen, and he played, and I think he scored. So they have got a lot of options. They're just not an obvious one here. What they will do anyway is like that 4 that you see in attack will rotate, and there's no obvious 9. It's going to be a lot of movement around there, but we'll have to see. But they're a good team. We've got to take them seriously.
I don't know what to do with Germany. Originally, I had Musiala in my team, who's had more goal involvements than I think anyone else in the Bundesliga. Sane's amazing. We know that. Gnabry's not been brilliant of late, but I think had a good game just before the World Cup. Interestingly enough, FIFA, those designed this game, they clearly think Muller's still the main man, which will be interesting if he does start, and they think they need a little bit of his experience because that front 4, they're not all the youngest. Sane's not young anymore. The others are. They're still young, but they're probably a little bit naive. Muller is 9.5. Muller is more expensive than all of those guys. But Musiala is the one I really like the look of, and he's cheaper than the others mentioned. Cheaper than Havertz, which I'm surprised at. $1 million cheaper than Gnabry, and obviously Sane, I think I expect at 9 million. I definitely see an upside in Musiala over those midfielders of Gundogan and Kimmich. Definitely worth the extra. But Musiala's the only one I'm looking at because they've got a difficult group, Dean. Like Spain in match day 2 is
Yeah,
probably
big game.
both putting us off Spanish and German players.
Yeah.
Despite them having a group with, I think they've got Costa Rica in there, which is a really nice high
Yeah, well,
ceiling
it's
game.
nice. It's nice to have that Costa Rica game last for Germany because we'll be able to weigh things up in the first 2 games and see who is likely to be the goal threat, see what they actually need at that point to actually get whatever they need from this group to get through. But the fact they've got Costa Rica last game is handy. I mean, Costa Rica, sorry to say, are probably going to be one of the whipping boys. I mean, they're one of the teams that are unlikely to get a single point from this tournament. So Germany will be looking to make the most of that in their final match. So don't worry if you're not sure about German assets right now. It might be one of those that you can just sit on for a little while.
Yeah. And again, there's a few unsure who starts. I personally think that will be the front 4, and I think Muller will come on if they need him. I think Musiala will start. I think Gnabry is the least likely to start out of those 4. I think I would go Sane, Musiala, and Havertz, all very, very likely to start. Gnabry should, but it could be Muller.
Interesting.
Guys, we will move on now. That was our Germany preview. Make sure you're giving the stream a like. We're with you for the next half an hour or so. Still got a fair few teams to preview. Do also check out that league code at the bottom of the screen. We want you to join our mini league. You can compete against both Dean and myself. FPL focus. Joel Campbell will tear Rudiger apart. Love that. An Arsenal fan, Graham. Yes. Right, we'll move on from Germany. That was good fun. Who have we got next? We got the Netherlands. Oh, this is a fun team. And we've gone. What do you think to Gakpo, Dean? Because you know about Gakpo more than most. He's obviously had an unbelievable season. Do you think he'll be in this 11 as the number 10? Because that's an exciting looking team and very attacking looking team.
Yeah, I think he'll start the tournament. I think that he will go with him because of his form. This is a guy who really could end up anywhere on the back of this tournament in terms of a transfer. He's flying, and 7 million, that is a real bargain there. Memphis is still the guy to look to this in this team for goals. Like, I still think that he's most likely to be the biggest difference maker, and they still do rely on him quite heavily. So for me, Memphis is probably more important to have than Hakpo. But then there's Dumfries is the other one as well, obviously from an FPL perspective, from a fantasy perspective. We'd love him to be in FPL because we'd all have him, that's for sure. 24% owned for a reason compared to Daily Blind at 0.9. That tells you everything you need to know. But yeah, they'd probably be the 3 standouts and that I'd be looking at.
I had, when we showed our first drafts on Monday, I had Jasper Cillessen in goal, who's not made the squad. There are 3 goalkeepers in this squad who are all 4.5 million. We do not know who's going to start. We've gone with Pasveer, who is, I think, 39 years old. He was the PSV backup keeper. He moved to Ajax in the summer. He's not had a brilliant season, but he did play the last couple of games for the Netherlands. Now, whichever one starts in goal at 4.5 million, they are an absolute gift in this game. 4.5 million keepers in this game are whipping boy teams. Well, the Netherlands have a really good group. They have a very good chance of keeping 2, if not 3, clean sheets. So arguably they've got the best group going. From all the big teams, if you look at that fixture ticker, many put Netherlands and England as the 2 teams with the best opposition. Senegal, Ecuador, Qatar. I really like the idea of going Dumfries and the keeper. It is a risk, but with the rules we know, where you can substitute any player, including a goalkeeper, as long as you have 2, your second keeper is someone you know absolutely plays, I think it's a risk worth taking by going Pasveer in goal at 4.5. So he's my keeper alongside, I think I've got Emi Martinez at Argentina. I'll play Dutch guy first, and then if I'm happy with his points, whether he starts or not, he stays. If not, Martinez comes in. But him and Dumfries, you'll get attacking returns from Dumfries. The other names to mention, I guess the front 3, Depay is likely to be out match day 1. Louis van Gaal did say he won't play, but he has been seen training. Bergwijn is listed as a midfielder, which is really interesting because Gakpo, for example, is listed as a forward. So Bergwijn looks like incredible value as a 7 million midfielder, and he starts. He starts from, and he's been scoring goals this season.
You're going to play up front. Yeah, absolutely that. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot in this team in terms of relying on people like Memphis, Frankie De Jong, and Van Dijk. Like they do rely on that core, and the fact that two of the three aren't very trustworthy in terms of actually getting out there and their fitness is a bit of a worry. As already obviously saying about Memphis not playing game one. It's been worries too, obviously, this season that Frankie's had to deal with. And Van Dijk's been totally out of form for Liverpool. Like that,
Yeah.
you can't just forget the fact that Virgil van Dijk's not having a good season. I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster, but the fact that 22% of people have picked him is a little surprising, given that he's having his worst season we've seen in possibly ever in the Premier League. But yeah, they're a good team, and they've got high expectation too. They come in here with Louis van Gaal, who's 71 now. He just doesn't care. He's like does not care what anyone thinks of him at this tournament. He's had an illness. I think he's still got an illness. He's like these lads give me energy. These lads give me life, but no one upset me. No one upset me. I'm going to make some strange decisions at times, is what he'll do, and he will not listen to anyone that tries to argue with him. Change the formation a little bit too at times. So, this isn't going to be quite the total football that Dutch fans want to see. This should be a 4-3-3. That's what Holland and Netherlands are supposed to play. But Louis van Gaal's like, no, we're not doing it.
My way.
Yeah,
my way. I remember Louis van Gaal. I think it was his first game at Man United. He played Jesse Lingard as a left wing back because it was like, hey, this is how I want to play. And he just didn't he just didn't worry. Care. Yeah. And then I remember in the World Cup we sent Tim Krul on for a penalty shootout, and it worked.
He did.
And Krul went and won them the shootout. And it was like, when do you ever see substitutions of goalkeepers just for the shootout? I mean, since then we've seen a couple of them.
Yeah, people do it all the time.
Yeah. And then even when Chelsea try and do it, Kepa doesn't come off. And that wasn't long after. So there we go. I think there's plenty of talent here. I have triple the Netherlands, and that's based on very good price points and an even better group in terms of fixtures. That match day one fixtures, they're most difficult. But then I think they've got two easy wins against Ecuador and Qatar.
I mean, look, Senegal aren't that good, unfortunately. Like they're probably the best of the African nations, but they're probably not going to get out the group.
There we go. I've been just tinkering with my team as we were talking. Harry Kane is now in. We'll be showing our teams tomorrow, guys, on our final team reveal before Sunday's deadline. Guys, we'll move on. Netherlands on 2. Who's next in alphabetical? Is it Portugal, maybe? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
there he is.
They had a friendly tonight, Dean, I think it was. Or maybe it was earlier today.
Okay.
It was a very different looking 11. Right. Leao didn't start. Ronaldo didn't start. I think Bernardo played on the left of the 3. He played Andre Silva down the middle and then João Felix as well. So again, I don't think we can read too much into the friendly because we know Ronaldo comes into that 11. I expect that midfield 3 of Bruno and Neves should be Carvalho, but we don't know in that middle 3. And then the backs, Cancelo and Diaz are absolutely nailed. So Bernardo Silva's absolutely nailed and a midfielder in this game, but expensive. My take for this Portugal team is they're very expensive. Even Cancelo, as good as he is, he's 6 million. Like you can get, that's Dumfries money, but you can get Trippier, Shaw, Hernandez for 5 million. I feel like all these Portuguese players are a little bit too pricey.
I just don't know what they're going to do at this tournament. I just find them so difficult to predict. You look at the team sheet there that we've got up and you think, oh, they're going to be brilliant. But there's a chance they won't. Like they haven't typically been. They've struggled at times in qualification as well. And like obviously this issue with Ronaldo isn't going to help. Bruno Fernandes and him not going to be passing to each other from what we've seen. Bruno's certainly not going to be looking to tee him up or help him in any way. Ronaldo, I mean, what evidence do we have to say that Ronaldo's going to have a good tournament? There's none. Apart from we can harp back to past tournaments, but this is a different Ronaldo. Like this is a man that is in physical decline and is unfortunately for him not at the levels that he has been in every other major tournament he's been at. He's not scoring goals. So he's got here across 3 group games, 270 minutes to score the goals that help him show everybody else that he's the main man, and Man United are silly for treating him the way they have. But this season, he's played over 1,000 minutes for Man United. Over 500 of them were in the Europa League, and he's got 2 goals in the Europa League and 1 in the Premier League. It's just not good enough. And people that watch Portugal more than I do seem to think that this is now a detriment of the team, that Ronaldo is going to be captaining and starting all the games, and that sounds very like when he plays for Man United.
Yeah, it's weird because Juve fans said it a couple of years ago. United fans have started saying it in the last year, and now Portuguese fans are saying it. We're seeing this is a pattern, and yeah, to spend 10 million, 11.6% ownership, I'm really surprised at. The group for Portugal in terms of their fixtures, I don't know. I mean, Ghana, you'd think they'd win, but you wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. Uruguay, Portugal, I actually fancy Uruguay.
I back Uruguay, yeah.
And then Korea, yeah, maybe Portugal win that, but. Yeah, questions on Cancelo because he is 46% owned. And again, this is a lot of FPL managers picking Cancelo. Does he play for Portugal like he does Man City? I'd actually say he plays very well for Portugal. And actually, he plays this City at Man City in the Premier League. His attacking numbers have been way down. He's not been wide in the attack. He often drifts in field, and sometimes that restricts him. For Portugal, he's wide. And with that width, you'll see more assists. Fewer shots because he actually shoots a lot for Man City. I think he had more shots than any other defender last year. But you'll get the big assist threat from Cancelo, but I don't think you'll get clean sheets. So, yeah, he's not an option for me. I've not even looked at him, and I'm not worried about that level of ownership.
What about Diego Costa in goal? There's a few people talking about in the chat, and he's being linked quite heavily with a Chelsea move next year.
Yeah, they got good keepers because Jose Sarr, I think, is second choice. Yeah. They're both priced at 5, but Diego Costa will start. And yeah, it's a good price point, and he'll get saves. I think he'll be worked though, and I don't think we'll get many clean sheets. But 5 million is a good price. Like, you spend 5.5 on a Pickford. I think Alisson is 6. A lot of the premiums are 5.5 and 6. Emi Martinez is 5.5. So he's been well priced, Costa. He is good value compared to some of the others. Bruno at 9.5 is madness. Leao, if he's starting, could be a brilliant pick. I have Leao in all my every week. He was my captain last week in Serie A fantasy. He's a brilliant option. And Serie A fantasy, like this game, rewards shots on target. And again, he's pretty greedy. He shoots a lot.
He's
very attacking. So if he's a starter, will he start though, Dean? Because I don't think he will. I don't think he will either. And I'm gutted about that because he should do.
Yeah. Yeah, but then maybe by the time we get to like that South Korea game, and I think, is it South Korea they got in the 3rd game, I think.
Yeah.
That might be the time to bring in Leao. That might be the one.
Nice. Yeah, 1 week punt. Yeah, I'd even captain him in potentially in that fixture. He could go off. Yeah. He's that good.
He is. He's amazing.
Good stuff, guys. We'll move on from Portugal. I think we're going to go almost next door to Spain, or we might have one in between. Oh, it is Spain. And we've got Morata here, I think has maybe got a knock, but this is a really interesting team to look at because whilst we've just looked at Portugal with their really high prices, we look at Spain, who for me are a better team than Portugal. Maybe not on paper, but I think they'll do better in this World Cup, but really good price points. Who do you like from this team, Dean?
Obviously, Gavi and Pedro are like just Pedri, sorry, are just unbelievable footballers, and like, we're not at the Xavi and Iniesta stage anymore, no, but this is like the rebirth of Spanish football, if you like. And like, they will keep the ball. They'll do it a little differently now, Spain, and they'll keep emerging and evolving as a nation in terms of the way that they play their football. Those two in the middle are ridiculously good. So they'll keep it, but they'll keep it with intent, and they'll try to get it up the field quick. And their issue is obviously the fact that it's Morata or bust in attack. Like, there's a lot weighing on his shoulders here. If he's got a knock, then that's obviously not ideal. But we saw in the Euros, like, a lot of problems. I mean, in the end, the coach came out and said, "Look, Morata, I'm sticking by him. He's my undisputed number 9." Even though he doesn't wear number 9, he wears number 7. Bizarrely, Gavi, a central midfielder as well. Their squad numbers are all over the place. The Spain squad, by the way, is absolutely ludicrous, some of the squad numbers that have been handed out. So Gavi, their central midfielder, is going to be wearing 9. But Morata, he is the main goal scorer, and he has to really deliver. If he doesn't, then You can see there we've gone Sarabia and Ferran Torres, and then dig a little deeper. You've got Ansu Fati, who I love. Ansu
Scored
Fati.
tonight in their
Did he?
friendly. Yeah.
Oh, good.
He
I was gonna
started as
say,
well. He started on the left, or it might have been last night, but he started and looked really good.
I was going to say he could be the one. What's his price point? Because he
7.5.
7.5. That could be one to look out for sure. Yeremy Pino, a player that a lot of teams are looking to scouting at the moment for a transfer. Like, he has big breakthrough potential too in terms of this sort of platform. And then you look at people like Nico Williams of Athletic Bilbao, who he's not really quite ready to make an impact, I don't think, at this kind of level yet. He's very good, but he's not really Spain level good for what we would all consider. Like, this team is decent. I'm just worried about how they score goals. It's more like they might come across them rather than like have a definitive way to get them, especially if Morata's not firing.
I was so impressed with Spain in the Euros under Luis Enrique when they played Italy in the semi-finals, and they were the better team. And I was at Wembley for that game, and I was blown away by how good Pedri was. He was. I was just like, whoa! Watching this kid live, I feel like I'm watching a future Ballon d'Or winner. And I think that midfield of Rodri with Pedri and Gavi, small technical players, just triangles. I just wonder, like you say, can they score goals? But I think if Ansu Fati becomes a starter and he does start with, say, a Ferran and a Morata, I hope there's goals there, because Ferran can go through phases of scoring. Fati's clearly talented and knows where the net is. Morata does need chances, but from what I saw in Spain in the Euros, the only team that gave Italy real problems, I saw enough to go, I'm going to back them in the World Cup. And I remember there and then I thought, I'm going to put money on them in the World Cup. So I've stayed true to my word, even though they haven't been great of late. But I just back the manager. I don't love the team on paper. Like, I think Pau Torres can sometimes have a bit of a soft centre.
Yeah.
The fullbacks aren't great. Like, Jordi Alba's over the hill. Carvajal didn't even make the Euro squad. I don't think Luis Enrique picked a single Real Madrid player in the Euro squad, which is interesting as a Catalonian. And he's now gone Carvajal. But yeah, it's a Barcelona-style team, and I think we'll see very attractive football. And I think that game against Germany will tell us a lot of where both those teams are at on match day 2.
Yeah, I have to say, like, from a fantasy point of view, none of them are jumping out at me. I mean, they have got Costa Rica first game, and that is a game that we should be looking at them like scoring 3, 4, maybe even 5 if they had a 9. So if Morata was definitely fit, I would be tempted to go with him just because it's Costa Rica. But if not, then there's not really much pull here for me.
Oh, I feel like a punt on Ansu Fati match day 1, knowing it's Costa Rica.
Ansu could be a punt. Yeah, Ansu could be a punt. But yeah, that's not a bad shout, to be fair.
Yeah, I really wasn't even looking at him. I assumed he wouldn't be near the starting 11 because he's not been playing for Barca, and he's been back fit for like 4 or 5 months, and he's been really eased back into the team, and he's not been able to get in the 11 at Barca.
Yeah, he scored in the Classico, didn't he? I'm sure he scored in the Classico.
Did he? Yeah,
I think he came on now and scored.
Yeah, he's had loads of sub appearances, but it was great to see Luis Enrique, who will know him very well, give him a start. I think it was either earlier today or yesterday, and I just think with potentially Morata being injured, even more reason to play someone that can be clinical in front of goal. So I might go Ansu Fati for a punt match day 1 if I can squeeze him into my team somehow. Although now I've just gone from Richarlison to Harry Kane. I'm not sure how I'm going to make that happen. I need some money.
Made so many changes.
Yeah, I know. Guys, we've just previewed 9 teams. If you're just joining us, feel free to go back and rewind, and you can go and watch any of the 9 teams we've previewed. If you're wondering which 9 teams, we won't run through them all now, but we'll just mention they are the 9 most fancied, most popular teams, those with the shortest odds. The likes of England, Brazil, and Argentina are all there. So feel free to go back and watch those 10-minute previews. But it's been awesome having you in the chat tonight. Before you go, make sure you like and subscribe. And Dean, we're going to do this all again tomorrow, I think, where we'll be talking a little bit more about chip strategy and recapping on the rules, and also looking at our
I want to check this 12th man thing out. I just saw someone, Tarek, say he can't figure out how to change his boosted chip. He applied the 12th man and can't figure out how to remove it. or change it, and someone in then said you can't.
It might be like FPL. You can't go back on your triple
Yeah.
captain, for example.
Maybe we'll have to check that out a bit more, because that's obviously quite an important one. But yeah, let's reconvene tomorrow, everybody, at the same time, same place, and we'll go through it all again.
Good stuff. And we'll have some tweaks to the teams you've seen from us already. My team's going to look completely different, I'm sure of it. Guys, we'll see you again tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Thank you for joining. Before you leave, hit that like button and we'll see you tomorrow.